Well, good afternoon to everyone again. I'm Ian Campbell with Alpha Capital. Alpha Capital is a large wealth management firm. We're headquartered in Denver, Colorado, and have a 401k arm, an insurance arm, as well as individual wealth management arm. And today we're going to be talking about the FBS Plumbing and Heating Company 401k plan and enrollment. There's a couple attachments we're going to be going through. The first one being the online enrollment packet. It is a series of 14 pages, and there's technically probably only 2 or 3 that are going to be most relevant to you. The first one being a cover page, and scrolling down to the second page of the attachment is really where we'll start the discussion around enrollment. Again, as earlier mentioned, there's going to be a PDF form, a 2-page PDF form, but the online enrollment is highly recommended for everyone to do rather than the PDF form. The reason being is it's faster, it's more secure, and it's really easier for everybody, so they're not having to deal with shuffling paper and identity and all that stuff too. So if you can, please do the online enrollment other than the paper. The first step of the online enrollment is for you to go to the provider's website, which is right there on your screen. It's yourplanaccess.net/retirement plan consultants. And once you first hit that website, there'll be a gray box in the middle. In the up top left corner, you'll see where it says online enrollment. It is a one-time process. You'll click that button, and it'll ask you to type in the plan password. The plan password is going to be unique to your business and company, and that is listed there, FBS Plum. And it is required that it's in all capital letters as well. So please make sure you are doing that. I'm going to hop down to page 8 of 14, and this gets into the step-by-step guide of that online enrollment. So as I mentioned earlier, that gray box is what you'll see here. The upper left-hand corner is online enrollment. You'll then type in that FBS Plum plan password in that bottom right kind of image there, and then hit next, and then be prompted putting in your contact information and creating a username and password. One quick note is this website will actually be used for all future logins because this is your login page essentially. So bookmark this website link, save it to your favorites, whatever you do. It'll be important for you to have that if you were to go back and log in, get statements, update your investment choices, change contribution rates, things like that. On the next couple pages, it goes through the workflow of the onboarding process with screenshots of each step. You'll be prompted to put in your contact information, adding beneficiary information, selecting how much you want to save, and all of that good stuff. About halfway through the online enrollment, there's a spot where it's at 50% complete, and it asks for the source of money. Just make sure that you are selecting all sources of money. And what I mean by that is there's a company match that's available if you're participating, and then you have your contributions as well. So 2 sources, one from the company, one from the employee. What this is saying in this step is that you want both of those sources of money to be invested the same way. So just make sure that you do click all sources, because then it will lump those monies together and invest it the same way, rather than trying to keep track of 2 different investment strategies inside of one. So everything else is pretty self-explanatory on this onboarding process. If you have any questions, feel free to refer back to pages 8 through 11. It's a great step-by-step tool. There's also a YouTube video link that's in the email that you'll get that goes through these screenshots in a video format. So if you need some more assistance, feel free to refer to that as well. For the purposes of the call, I wanted to hop over to the paper form to give you an idea of what type of information you're going to be completing online or on the paper form. The first one being, all of your contact information, pretty self-explanatory there. The one piece that's unique to each of you is going to be your date of hire. So double check with either Drew or HR there and confirm that you've got the appropriate date of hire as you're completing this information. And then the next section is going to be your enrollment election, and this is where we'll spend a little bit more time on, and it goes into those decisions that you're going to be making. The first one being, are you going to participate or not? Hopefully the answer is yes to everybody, but understand that there may be certain individuals that just say no for right now. If you do say no, it's not a no forever. You can essentially enter the plan every quarter if you say no. So if you say no now, the next open enrollment is going to be July 1. The following one would be October 1. Following would be January 1, and so on. So every start of the first day of the first quarter, or the second quarter, third quarter, things like that, you can enter the plan if you say no. If you do want to participate in the plan, then you have a couple options. One's a pre-tax contribution or a Roth after tax. Before we get to those pre-tax and Roth ones, I want to just be clear, is if you are not going to participate in the plan at this time, you will have to fill out this paper form as a waiver, and you'll select that third option that you wish not to participate in the plan at this time. So that is a way for them to present you the benefit. You said no. This is a record of you saying no, basically. But again, you don't have to say no forever. You can enter the plan at any quarter in the future. You don't have to update this form every single quarter either. If you say no, it's still good for the next no, and so on. But if you do want to participate, then all you have to do is just go in and online enrollment or fill out this form with the new information. For those who do want to participate, you've got those two options. You got a pre-tax deduction or a Roth deduction or contribution. And the difference between the two is when the money is taxed. With a pre-tax contribution, it's probably what most people are familiar with, is you're putting in money today, and then you pay the taxes when you withdraw the money in retirement. So whatever your effective tax rate is in the future, which is unknown, that's what your tax rate would be at that time. Normally we see that people aren't working in retirement, so they're in a low tax bracket essentially then. We do not know what the low tax bracket will be like in 10, 20, 15 years from now, so it is somewhat of a best guess. The Roth contribution or deduction would be a tax that you would pay today. So whatever your effective tax rate is today, that is when you'd pay the taxes, because you're putting the money that you've already paid taxes on. And then when you withdraw the money in retirement, Uncle Sam's not there, looking for tax revenue. You've already paid the taxes on the inbound. So it's either you pay the taxes on the inbound or you pay them on the outbound. And really the essential hedge is, are you in a low tax bracket now or in a high tax bracket now, or are you going to be in a high tax bracket in the future, or vice versa? You could argue both points. The reason that I'm saying that is we do not know what tax rates are going to be in the future, so it is somewhat of a best guess. We tend to see people, on average, will do the pre-tax contribution more. If you're in a lower tax bracket right now or younger, they'll tend to do the Roth contribution, just because they're hedging that they're going to make more money in the future, or be at a higher tax bracket in the future, and they'd rather save now while it's low taxes, essentially. I want to pause there. Are there any questions about the pre-tax and Roth kind of analysis that we just discussed?
Everyone's shaking their head no here.
All right, good deal. And if there's any questions that you've got throughout this, just holler out, we'll pause and get them answered. Going on to the next one is going to be the how much. I personally feel this is the most important thing, because you can guess and pick one side or the other on the pre-tax or Roth, but if you're not saving enough when you get to retirement and you don't have enough, that's going to be a rude awakening. So the reason why the 8 number and the 10 number is there is because those are, one of them is a national average and the other is a good savings rate goal. 8% is national average right now, so use that as kind of a watermark. All of your peers, my peers, all states, all industries, the average individual that's saving in a 401k plan is saving roughly 8% of their income into their account. From a advisor standpoint, from an investment professional standpoint, the goal would be to at least save 10%. So 8% is a great number to be at, but to replace your income and have enough in retirement, all of the studies and research shows that people should be saving 10% or more. You may even see where it says 15 in some cases too. So if you were to just go home and Google, or you're doing it right now on your phone, and you said, how much should I be saving in my 401k account? You're going to see numbers in between 10 and 15% on average. With that being said, we understand that that may not be in the cards for some of you, and that's why there's a blank percentage out to that right-hand side. You can pick and choose whatever you'd like. You can also change your pre-tax and Roth option, mid-year, whenever you want as well. So it's not set in stone. The contribution rate that you pick to is not set in stone either. You can adjust that over time. So you could start out at a lower number, bump it up, start at a higher number, bump it down, keep the same number forever, whatever it is. What's important with the contribution rate, there's a company match of a safe harbor match that's available to each one of you if you participate. So hopefully I've got everybody's attention because this is the good news. The safe harbor match is a 4% maximum match. So if you guys are saving, you essentially got a 4% raise if you're going to start saving. So if you haven't said thank you to Drew yet, you'll give him a hug on the way out of this meeting. With that being said, I'm going to explain how the match works. The company match is a calculation off of what you put in. It's 100% match on the first 3% that you save, and then 50% on the next 2% from 4 to 5. So if you put in 5% pre-tax, 5% Roth, you're going to get the full benefit of that 4% company match. If you do something less, that's where that equation comes in. So if you put in 1, you're going to get 1, 2 for 2, 3 for 3. If you put in 4, you're going to get 3.5. If you put in 5, you'll get 4. So it behooves everybody to at least put in 5, so you get the full 4. If you're putting something less than 5, then you're leaving, money on the table essentially. So that's why that blank spot's there. You can put in 5, you can put in 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 20, whatever, and you can adjust it as well. Any questions on the company match or the how much piece of it? Is everybody smiling in the room yet?
They never smile here.
All right. Well, hopping over to the next piece of it, again, you can adjust your contribution rate. You can adjust your pre-tax or after-tax contribution as well, or that option. The last one being is going to be your investments. And what often happens is people can get by as saying, okay, I'm going to go and do the pre-tax. I'm going to do 8%. I'm getting the company match, but I have no idea what to do with the investments. That's where we come into play. We're going to talk to you a little bit about the investments now, but also help provide you with some assistance and guidance on what we feel would be appropriate for each of you as well. The list that's on your screen now, there's about 30 or so investments. This is our primary role, is to make sure this investment menu is as good as it possibly can be today. And we review this every quarter to make sure it's good in future quarters as well. So there's really, really good investments from a performance standpoint. They're all low-cost investment choices as well. They're all institutional grade. So you'll see where it says like Admiral or Admin, Investor, R6. Those are all indications that they're all institutional grade mutual funds are the lowest investment expense ratio available. To give you a little bit of clarity on that, there's a reason why you see R6. R stands for retirement, and there's 6 different retirement share classes, R1, R2, R3, and so on. R1 is going to be the most expensive. R6 is going to be the least expensive. So you have the least expensive fund options in this entire plan. So you've got great offerings plus low cost. But telling you that doesn't help you with the decision. So part of our ongoing advice and education, we put together what's called an asset allocation guide, which you're seeing on your screen right now. It looks like a big Excel spreadsheet. So all of the investments are listed on that left-hand column. The asset class or the area that they represent is in that second column. The ticker symbol's in the third column. If you care to do some more research on the investments, you can simply Google these 5 letters here and find out a great deal of information. Most of the information that you'll see online, like on the website, it's going to be quarter end. And then in these documents as well too, it might be quarter end down here, like I'll show you on pages 10 and 11. Bear with me for 1 second. You'll see all these fun fact sheets here. And this information is, almost 2 months old now. So if you go online and you type in the ticker symbol, you're going to get real-time information of performance, expenses, and so on. And then the next 5 columns up here on the top is going to be more for those individuals who want to be hands-on with their investment selection. So what Mark and I have done is done the math and the homework of what we would recommend if we were you, knowing everything that we know and all the research that we do, how would we invest based off of these 20 investment choices? And this is how we would invest that money. If you were aggressive, this is how we would do it. If you were moderately aggressive, this is how we would do it, and so on. From an education standpoint, we tend to see people in their 20s and 30s will tend to be in that aggressive column. Folks in their 30s and 40s, even into their 50s, will tend to be in that moderate aggressive column. And then people in their 60s will be in that moderate 50-50 column. And then we'd rarely ever see anybody in these moderate conservatives or conservatives because they're already retired, but people that are in their 70s, 80s, they're going to be in that conservative or moderate conservative portfolios. And the ask of you is, if you're going to follow one of these columns, you simply just relay this information onto that sheet or onto the website. So this, let's just say you're moderate aggressive, you're 40 years old, and you want to choose this column, essentially. You're going to go to that sheet, and this first one's PNC International Equity. Let me go back up here to page 2. We're going to go down here and find the PNC International Equity Fund, write 6% there. Go to the next one, find the 4% Dodge and Cox income, and put 4% in that one as well. And just do that accordingly down that column and line up with the investment choice. The ask is that we're going to update this every quarter. So the next one will come out in July. And once we get that out to you guys, you'll want to go log in and update those percentages. We normally change those numbers in those columns once or twice a year. So we're not asking a lot, but if you want to be more hands-on and have a choice in those selections with some guidance, you can follow it. For those who want to be a little bit more hands-off, the recommended path is to select a target date fund. And the target date funds work in the way that you are what year it's going to be when you retire. So you do the math around what year it will be when you reach age 65, call it, and that's going to put you into one of these date ranges. So if you're 65 years old right now, or 63, this 2020 fund is going to be most appropriate because you're going to turn 65 in the year 2020. So following that same logic, you would do 100% into this one fund because it's going to be diversified all inside of that one fund. It's basically a one-stop shop for you, and it's hands-off, autopilot. And the way these work is they start out aggressive for those who are younger because they're going to retire later in life. So the blue ones that I've highlighted on the bottom, they're going to be similar to that aggressive column. The next 4 in the middle are going to be more in that moderate aggressive. And then the ones that are closer to the target year or the year that you're going to retire is going to be around that moderate 50-50 column. So you've got a hands-on option, you got a hands-off option, and the third is you're still free to do whatever else you would like. If you're go and do the research, if you've got an investment professional relationship there locally, show them these investments and say, how would I allocate them? You can do that as well. Our information is always on the bottom of this sheet too, both Mark and I's contact information there. It's in the email signature that you'll get as well. I wanted to pause there before I open it to questions though. You can change your investments at any time. You can go in there every single day if you wished and change them. There's no cost of going in and out of any of these funds, and there's no trading costs as well. We don't recommend that, but you can if you wanted to. Are there any questions about the stuff that we've covered on this investment guide or anything so far that we've touched on?
Nope.
Okay. Hopefully this is the most investment help you've gotten in a 401k plan if you've experienced it in the past, and we want to be different and help you guys with that final decision around the investments. For those who are doing the waiver, if they don't want to participate, there's a quick signature on that second page. You'll just turn that back into Drew. On the last 2 items that we'll cover before we wrap this up is the beneficiary designation form. In the event that you pass away, the monies that you've accumulated in the account go to whom you wish. So make sure you are updating this beneficiary. If you're doing it online, there's an option to do it right then and there. Please make sure you put in something, and you can always update it in the future if you would like. The part of this beneficiary form, there's going to be listing what's called a contingent beneficiary or a primary beneficiary. Primary is like what you assume, it's first in line. Contingent is second in line. So in the example, husband and wife, the spouse would be listed as primary beneficiary at 100%. The 2 children would be listed as contingent beneficiaries at 50% apiece. And you can list more than one here. If you're doing it online, you can go up to 5, 6. I think there's not a maximum, I don't think, of beneficiaries, but normally you just have 1 or 2 on it. There's a note. Go ahead.
Drew's trying to be the beneficiary for everyone.
Then you better.
Oh, you know, he beat me to it. But yes, that's if you don't have any relatives, you normally name in friends or family members or things like that. So one note on this is there's what's called a spousal consent requirement. So if you're skipping your spouse, and I don't know if there's any rules or if there's any scenarios there in the room, but if your spouse is not named as primary beneficiary or getting it 100% first, they have to acknowledge that they're being skipped, and a witness notary also has to be present as well. So if that does apply, you have to fill out a paper form. If it doesn't apply, forget what I just said, just complete your beneficiary info.
So if I want everything to go to my daughter, my husband has to sign off if that's okay.
Yep, he has to be in line with your wishes.
There you go, right?
So the last and final thing is just plan account rollover. If you've got an old 401k balance somewhere out there that you're not keeping track of, in most cases, consolidation is the best option. And what I mean by that is basically rolling money over from an old account into the 401k account. So if it's in an IRA or 401k plan, you can consolidate or roll those monies into this 401k plan if you're eligible to participate in the plan. If that does apply, there's a whole team at Retirement Plan Consultants. We've got a dedicated representative by the name of Stephanie Wolf. Drew is who's been helping us do the onboarding of the plan. She's actually going to be assigned onto the plan to help with any rollovers as well. They can reach out to Stephanie directly. They can call us. You all can call us as well, and we can help talk about pros and cons about doing that. This form is on the receiving side. So I'm going to say that you've got an account at Fidelity. Fidelity will have a form or do a phone recording and say, we want to roll this money over from Fidelity into Retirement Plan Consultants. And they'll document that, send the check over to Retirement Plan Consultants. This form is what Retirement Plan Consultants would also need. It's normally a 2-prong approach. If that does apply, reach out to us. We can talk about it, and then we can also get you in touch with Stephanie. Stephanie and their team can do all the heavy lifting and coordinate getting those monies from that other account into this 401k plan. And the reason being is to consolidate it is to have everything under one roof, so you're keeping a watchful eye on it. You know, Mark and I can't tell you the countless times that we've sat down with folks in their 20s and 30s and 50s and 60s, and they're like, I think I have a balance at this old company that I used to work at 10 years ago, but I'm not sure what it's in. And that's what we don't want to have happen to each one of you. So keep track of your stuff. It's your money. Pay attention to it. Was somebody going to ask a question there?
Yeah, so Ian, this is Drew. We had the previous employer in a 401k plan that shut down, so everyone has balances that can roll over.
Gotcha.
This July, I've already collected, everyone filled out their info is going to roll over, and I've collected these forms, so I just send those to Stephanie.
Yeah, that would be best. She's going to run point on it, and just because it's once you're doing it for one, it'll be the same process for all. So that's a great thing, and thanks for doing that legwork on it. But yes, just loop Stephanie in and saying, hey, here's these documents. What do you need from me? And she'll go from there.
Okay.
And following up just with the last couple things, there's a bunch of pages that I kind of touched on one of them on this document for the online or the PDF enrollment booklet with a 2-page enrollment form. You know, there's about 30 pages of the investment disclosures or what's called a fact sheet. So feel free to review any of this information. If there's any questions that either of you have or like to reach out to Mark or I, feel free to let us know. We're going to be available for any future enrollment meetings as well. So as new employees come on, they can watch this webinar, but also they can reach out to us at any time as well.